This is a special Friday Flush, as we're going to be interviewing the cast of the PBS Viewpoint special for the Biosolids special feature coming out this month, November. We have the two Chris's who are a part of the PBS special. And if you guys could both introduce yourselves and let us know who you are, that would be great. Chris Piot?
Yeah, hi, I'm Chris Piot. I'm the Director of Resource Recovery at the Blue Plains Resource Recovery Facility in Washington, D.C. We produce Bloom, which you can see behind me. That's our biosolids product, and I'm very proud of it.
Chris Clapp?
Yes, hi there. I'm the Executive Director of the Ocean Sewage Alliance. We are a globally facing nonprofit. It looks to raise awareness around the 80% or so of the world's wastewater that enters the oceans untreated or not treated enough to sustain ocean health. And so, really excited to be here. Marine scientist by training. I got into the wastewater, learning about wastewater and all the technologies available to treat it and recover it, recover the nutrients by default.
And it's a fascinating world. And that's why this special feature was something that we were really excited about and wanted to bring in some key players in the story. And one of the things that we do often is talk about this story very much in our own audiences, in our own echo chambers, without talking about it to the public, because it is a fascinating story about nutrient recovery, about clean water, about energy, renewable energy, and these resources that are basically on tap. So I wanted to ask you why did you feel that I'm compelled to join as a representative to tell this biosolids story for PBS Viewpoint? Maybe Chris Clapp, we could start with you.
So, the compelling thing for me is to help connect the full story of water, right? That it doesn't just end at when you flush. It doesn't just end with the treatment facility or the recovery facility. That what we consume and goes down the drain or goes on our lawns, it keeps going. There is no away, right? And I think that this story was so fascinating because as I had mentioned, I kind of went in search of solutions to a problem I was seeing in the estuaries, and early on it occurred to me that having the word waste in front of water is ridiculous, and we shouldn't be wasting such precious resources. So I was really excited to be a part of this, to see in action really efficient resource recovery. This is just such an exciting part of this field.
It was really great to have Ocean Sewage Alliance on board too, because it's you aren't really in the normal audiences that WEF or the Water Environment Federation or other utilities talk to. So having your mission so well aligned with water resource recovery made sense to have you guys on board. So yeah, it was wonderful to have you there. How about you, Chris Piot?
Yeah, thanks. So it's our job at the treatment plants to keep the pollutants out of our receiving waters, and we discharge out to the Potomac, which then goes to the Chesapeake Bay, and that everybody understands the Chesapeake Bay is a resource well worth preserving. And so we have to keep the pollutants out. I'm going to use air quotes, pollutants, because the pollutants are carbon and nutrients. We don't want them getting out and upsetting the very delicate balance out there of nutrients. But carbon, of course, is energy, and nutrients are fertilizer. So that's my job, is to try and figure out how to make use of these assets. And we really view them as assets, not liabilities now. And the biosolids program is a big part of that. We convert some of the carbon to clean, green, renewable energy, and what doesn't get converted to methane comes out of the bottom of the digester. It's this very stable product, and that we squeeze the water out of it, and that is our Bloom fertilizer product. So, we're trying to complete that nutrient and carbon cycle of the planet. That's really the way the Earth is supposed to work, right? We're not supposed to, no other animals take their waste and lock it into a landfill, right? So we should really do the same thing. We are also part of the ecosystem. And so I really wanted to get that message out.
Yeah, that's so well put. I love when people talk about water resource recovery facilities too as basically catalyzing what nature does, just speeding up the process to make sure that it
accelerated
happens.
Nature.
It is. It's fascinating. Absolutely. And so, one of the things, and I've been asked this question more than a few times, but when people ask, or if they ask you, why would you want to tell this story? What is your response? Really, especially given that for many, many, many years, biosolids has literally been an arrow off of a diagram saying, this is where this goes, just goes off the diagram. And it's kind of under the radar for a lot of facilities. What would be your response to that? Why tell this story? Chris Piot, you want to start?
Sure, I'll start. It's a story worth telling because we have this asset that comes to us, and many of our sister agencies treat it like a waste. And when we treat it like a waste, the public thinks it's a waste. And we're trying to overcome thousands of generations of hardwiring, right? I mean, the only reason any of us are here right now is because all of our ancestors knew to avoid the oral fecal cycle and take a wide berth around their own human waste or somebody else's human waste. So what we need to do is to make sure everybody understands that what we do is, like you said, it's accelerated nature, and we are converting these, potentially harmful things into products that can be used on the soil, that are pathogen free, that take the place of inorganic fertilizers, which take an enormous amount of energy to make and add to our carbon footprint. So all of these can be, what we do here can really be part of the solution to some of our economic or our environmental problems. So I mean, I just think it's really important for us to sort of sing these things from the mountaintops rather than stick our head in the sand. If we don't tell our story, nobody's going to understand what we do, and there won't be any acceptance. But if they understand that we are trying to complete that cycle of the planet, it really helps our cause.
Very good. Yeah. How about you, Chris?
Well, I mean, I just couldn't agree more with so many things that the other Chris had said so far. Is that reconnecting. We've as a as humans have become so disconnected, or tried to disconnect ourselves from the natural cycle of things, that we've actually created more problems than we've had many, many, many generations ago. Where we're taking the nutrients and putting it back on the soil is a more common practice. And it's just such a great story to tell when you could show how this can be done responsibly and safely and efficiently, and how many other great co-benefits there are. To think of our water and the nutrients that come down through the conveyance system to the treatment facility, to think of that as a single stream process, and to think of water as a single use product and the nutrients in it is just, we have to get beyond that, and we have to do better. And this story really does show how we can do better, how we can be less reliant upon some of our geopolitical adversaries for petroleum-based fertilizers, and breaking that link and that excessive use of carbon and petroleum products to make fertilizers, and get more of the nutrients back into the soil where it came from is just so important. I think that if we don't tell this story and get other people as excited about it as we are, then nobody else is going to be that second follower. I mean, I know there's many facilities out there that do this well, and they deserve the credit also. But sometimes it takes, a good positive story to get more people excited about it and reconnect them with nature, to recognize that people are a part of nature.
Yeah, I always like to say people are the producers. The facilities are really the refinery. The producers are really the ones who are putting it, consuming and putting that into the matrix. So they really are a big role in this story. And so really wanting to emphasize that in this special as well. You guys have already touched on this so great, but I just wanted to, what do you hope sharing this story will do for biosolids and water resource recovery? Is there something that you thought while you're sitting in the chair at the DC Water facility answering these questions that you thought, gosh, I really hope that this point gets across? Chris, Clapp, you want to start?
Yeah, I think, the greatest point that I'd like to get across is to how we could do so much better in reconnecting the cycle of nutrients and the cycle of water, that there's value and there's resources in our waste stream that need to be brought back into into the food cycle or into the water cycle. And we have the technology and resources to do this. It's just a matter of having the will to build out and deploy those technologies to make that happen. I think that's the one message I'd love for people to understand is this can be done.
Yeah, great. Yeah. How about you, Chris Piot?
Yeah, I mean, I love the fact that Chris Clapp said that he doesn't like the word wastewater, and I agree. I prefer the term enriched water, because what we're getting is water that's enriched with carbon, which is energy, and heat, which is also energy, which we can extract, and nutrients, all of which we can extract, and those are all valuable assets. So what I'm hoping that this piece does is to educate the public, like I've educated my kids. My youngest son comes out of the bathroom, not to get too graphic, and he closes the door and he goes, "Dad, I just sent you some more energy and fertilizer."
Nice.
And that's really the way that everybody should look at it. And sort of get over the ick factor and understand the science behind what we're doing to make it safe and everything, because it really is a cycle, and to interrupt that cycle is really sort of tragic.
Yeah, no, and that's such a really good way to kind of round this out, because this will be featured on 2022 Year of Poo, which is all about overcoming that stigma around the flush and working further up the flush to talk to people there versus relying on them to come to us and come to our facilities. That doesn't work for everybody. So trying to connect people to that innate connection, literally by a pipe, that is connected to all of us, and something that second to breathing is something we all do, right? So we have to just kind of own that. And so I really appreciate you guys, and appreciate DC Water for hosting us.
Yeah,
Chris
anytime.
Piot was an amazing a tour guide. I've never seen anybody like go around a plant facility with like such precision. It
like
was
my
really
job.
fun. Yes, we could tell. And the production team, I would like to just say a little bit about that. The PBS Viewpoint production team, it was so fun to watch kind of their transformation of not knowing what to expect, and then to be kind of at the end of it going, where do we get some of this? This is amazing. It's like, you're right, it is amazing, isn't it? Any additional thoughts you guys have to close it out for the audience
Well,
today?
because you said it, but if we could have had some clips of the production crew's faces as they entered a different room and were so blown away and impressed at the processes at place. Again, it was great for DC Water to host us. And, I always, I would never have thought this 15 years ago, that how much I really love touring these types of facilities and feeding off of the energy of the people who are so passionate about transforming our waste into something useful again. I appreciate everyone who's taken me on a tour of a facility and shown me, with such great passion, how safely this can all be done.
Chris, do you have any closing thoughts?
Yeah, just, I mean, I liken it, you reminded me that the tour and the camera crew reminded me a lot of when we bring high school students through, because they get here and they're all too cool for everything. They think it's disgusting, and what did my science teacher bring me here for? And by the end of the tour, they have such good questions and they're so enthused, and they don't want to leave because they're so interested. And that's what I'm hoping we can do in some small part with this piece. And I really appreciate you putting us together, Miley. So.
Yeah. Oh, it was one of the highlights of my career, for sure. I have to say, like, just having everybody, the farmer voice there, and the community gardeners as well. That was just, it just made it tell the story so much better, because we had all these different voices telling the story about biosalts that needs to be told, because other people tell it for us if we don't tell it, right?
Yeah, that's a great point. We need to tell the story, or someone else will do it.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for joining. Can't wait to have you on the Friday Flush. Miley Lona Batura at the Water Environment Federation, along with Chris Clapp and Chris Piot. So excited to see the PBS Viewpoint come out on the mainstream prime time, and thank you guys both for being here and participating in the special feature.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure.